Hello everyone, it's Sam again. I wanted to come back and do a video on my inserts and how I was going and how things were moving forward. Sorry, I just dropped something. If you were watching the last video, you would have seen me talking about when I flipped through my planner about wanting to change up the way my inserts were done and how I've been using the daily cute diary from Kiki K, but I wanted to switch to a weekly layout. And this was the last weekly layout that you would have seen that I had completed. And I talked about doing another one from Eliza Ellis's blog, which I showed you in the previous video blank. I didn't end up doing it. Well, I did, and I did video it at the time. The video unfortunately didn't work. I'm still learning. I'm still sort of new to all this, and unfortunately my kids raced down the hallway halfway through the video and leapt all over me, and the camera is suspended in a very precarious position and it went everywhere, and anyway, doesn't really matter. But one thing I did learn from that layout is that I did not like it at all. I decorated it and hated it instantly. So what I did is I sat down and I actually, I decided I wanted to do a bullet journal. I know that sounds really bizarre. I love the idea of a bullet journal and the freedom, but I also didn't want, you know, for those of you who know, bullet journal is just a journal. Often people use grid paper or dot grid. This is just a piece of loose leaf grid, and they just rule up boxes or write lists or however they choose. It's completely freeform. However, I don't have a lot of time on my hands when I sit down to do my planning, so I decided I wanted a bullet journal-esque idea, but I also wanted some sort of structure. Now you'll remember that back here, this one I did had a semi freeform on one page and a printed on the other, but I wasn't keen on the horizontal layout. So what I did is, these is just one of the pages. I drew up a couple of templates for how I might lay it out if I was to do it. I couldn't find the rough draft of the one I ended up printing, but you'll see it in a minute anyway. I drew them up and sort of did a dummy run of, you know, this is how it would look and how I would like it. I've tested out enough things by now to know here and there what I liked. I wanted a box for each day. I wanted it to be definitely sectioned out for each day. I wanted to maximize my space as much as possible. And I wanted to have this freeform page on the other side. I also really like having the schedule down the side. And as much as I also wanted a weekly to-do list, it would have been nice to have some room for some daily to-dos. You know, sometimes things are time specific. So I took that into account when I went through and did all of my drawing up and things like that, my rough drafts. And I sat down on my computer and I designed, where is it? This is my test one, these. So I don't know if you can see in the video or not, but it's a really faint 5mm grid all across, just like if it was a bullet journal, or if it was my bullet journal anyway. And all I did was on the computer, I created the boxes that I would have drawn up myself by hand. So all I have to do, they're undated. I'll show you a blank one so you can see. Here you go. So it's completely undated, it's completely blank. It's got a plain grid on one side and a weekly layout on the other. I've got my time schedule, which I wanted, except for on the weekends. I've just got morning, afternoon, and evening. And then I have a spot to write reminders that are specific for that day or to-do lists for that specific day. You can see here on the one that I already did, for example, today, which is the 3rd, my son had a free dress day at school, and he needed to take a gold coin donation for that, which we did do that, so I can tick that off. And my husband took the day off today, so we have things that we're doing. So I decided to spruce it up and add colour. I used my colouring pencils to give the days a bit of colour according to the colour theme that I chose. And then I also used the pencils to block out how long my appointments were going to take. And the only times that I had to actually write a time in is if it was on the half hour, because these were all hourly. So I was super happy with how that turned out. I was really impressed. I had things laid out in a time schedule, which I really like. I had room for my day-specific tasks, and I can see it all at a glance. And the actual colouring in of the blocks also helped me to sort of see how things overlay. And then on the weekly page, I don't know a lot about bullet journaling, and I know there's the actual official bullet journal has specific rules and guidelines that they kind of follow. I'm just making one up as I go along. So forgive me if you're a hardcore bullet journaler and you're looking at this going, that is not a bullet journal. I'm just making it up as I go along. So I had here my weekly tracker stickers from my shop with my tasks that I wanted to achieve. And obviously being as it's Friday today, I haven't finished ticking those off, although I will say that I have done the washing. So just for all you people out there who are wondering if I have clean clothes, yes, I do. Then I set up here just some weekly things, some one-off tasks that I wasn't going to achieve every day necessarily, but that I wanted to achieve during the week. And you can see, considering it's Friday, so far I've only achieved one of the 3, but the week is not over, so there's still time. And then down here I had an inspirational quote. It might seem a bit strange to you, but this is a term I coined with a writer friend of mine, where I said that when you're writing a rough draft, it's like sand, and you want to keep polishing it and polishing it and polishing it until at the end you've made glass. So that's what that is referring to. I had some notes here. I've started doing the Creative Lee's letter a day challenge, so that was there to remind me to do that. And my kids have been sick this week, so I had a bunch of sticky notes that I just stuck down that I was using to track their medicine intake on a daily basis. And that's that. And I was really happy with it. It was great to decorate. I got to spend a little bit more time on it to make it look exactly how I wanted. So I've decided to experiment further with this layout going forward. So we're going to talk about how I made the inserts today, and then we're going to, show you quickly how it was done. Okay? But I wanted to show you the finished one first, so you had an idea of what the finished product was and what I was talking about before I started. All right, so I'm just going to put that out of the way for a second. Okay, now I went ahead and printed out some more. So I wanted to show you what they look like. If you ever make your own or buy a printable insert off Etsy or wherever, some of the free ones, maybe from Eliza's blog, for example, like I did, they often come in an A4 format. I do have A5 paper, and I have printed my inserts on A5 paper, and like it's fine. But when you're laying out a big section and you want a double-sided spread that's not the same on every page, like for example, if I was just printing out this, I could print that on A5 paper and I'll just print a million of them, it'd be fine. But because you want them to be double-sided, like for me anyway, I wanted to print on the backs of the paper. So I decided to print them A4 because I found it really confusing to try and work out what had to be printed on what side, and anyway, too hard. So now this is 100 GSM paper. I already knew that 80 was too thin, and I went to the shops, and for trial I bought some 100. And this is the first time I've printed on double-sided, and I don't know if you can see it on the camera. There's some very faint shadowing, very faint. So I will see, this is an experiment to see how it looks after I've decorated it and written on it and things like that, because I know particularly my brush pen that I used here, these ones in particular, they can bleed through. The black's not too bad, but the pink is terrible. And it has put me off buying the other colours of these, because there's plenty of other colours, because they bleed through. But if I can get my paper thick enough that they don't, that would be fine. So I printed them on the 100 GSM to try. There's 2 sheets of those. And I also, I'm going to say I had this idea, but I also have seen somebody do it on Instagram. So I can't remember who it was, so I can't give credit to them. But I did also think about it myself. So just in case, if you're out there and you've already done this and you're thinking, I'm saying this idea is original, by no means is it original. But anyway, scrapbooking paper. I have pads and pads and pads and pads of it. These particular ones are from Aldi. I just grabbed a few sheets and printed out. This one obviously already has a grid on it, so I did not do the grid overlay when I printed that out. I left that one blank. Now, I don't know the GSM on this paper, but I can't see through it, so it may be more than 100. So we'll see. This will be a good experiment. So on these, because these are pads, they're white on the back. So I'll have 1 week that will be coloured, and then when I flip it over, 1 week that will be white. Alright, so there's that one there. And then this, I don't know if you can sort of see it or not, if I was to get something white. It's actually a very pale beige sort of taupey colour, and it has a very fine, almost sandblasted look about it, which actually got kind of lost when I printed over it. But I wanted to try a variety of patterns and textures to see, you know, once I write in it and things like that, what looks the best. So this is as plain as I went beyond the white. And once again, white on the back. This is a very faint pink candy stripe. Once again with the grid printed over the top, which made it a little bit confusing, but anyway, it's a pale pink. I've got this really cute green spot, which also had a bit of a textural look in the background. And the grid is very faint, but it is seeable. And I like a grid to give me reference when I write. I'm trying to make my writing and my lettering better. So for me, having the grid lines there helped me to do that. But I wanted to make them super faint because I didn't like the way that loose leaf paper that I had before, I didn't like the way that this grid was so bright. And I was much happier with the fainter grid. So that's why I did that. So the green, this one obviously has got a bit of an illustration of a little bit of washi up the top. And then the blue. And then this one is the more detailed one. Like I said, I'm just experimenting. Here, this one, it had the spotty background and the scenery at the bottom. And then once again, the grid is on there. Like I said, it's hard to see. So I wanted to do a variety of what I thought were going to be easier to write on. And then if these turn out to be fun, I'll use, maybe next time I'll experiment with some of the more vivid papers and see how that goes. But for now, this already will be a challenge because obviously if I'm going to write and do colouring blocks over where the pictures are, I don't know how that will turn out. So we'll see. Anyway, these were 12 by 12 sheets of scrapbooking paper. And all I did was I took an A4 sheet and I laid it over the top of the 12 by 12 and marked where the edges were, and then I just used my paper trimmer to trim it down. And this is what I wasted. I say wasted. These little bits off the edge will just go in the bin. These here, I fussy cut one of the ones, so that's sort of irrelevant, but and that bit had already been a little bit used. But this is actually what the full 12 by 12 sheets had left over. So with the exception of that little perforated border that you pull off, I'll be able to use all of that again for something else, whether it's whether it's in scrapbooking or planning or journaling or whatever it is. That's not going to be wasted. That will be reused. These little bits are pretty much dead to me. They're going to go in the bin. I don't keep those little teeny tiny ratty bits. I know some people do, and that's fine. But for me, I have a very limited crafting space in my house. If you saw my video set up right now, you'd be laughing. So I don't keep that sort of stuff. So those are those. And then like I said, they're all printed on the back. So when I actually trim these up, which I will show you very quickly. I won't do them all in front of you, but I'll show you what I do. I'll just take a couple, I think. These are pretty thick papers, so I'm only going to do a couple at a time. Here's my paper trimmer. My blade of my paper trimmer is fairly blunt, so I don't recommend that, but nevertheless, if I cut a single page at a time, it rips it to shreds. But these ones, cutting a couple of pages is okay. Now, I don't know, I'm assuming you can see this, or there's a slight divide where I printed between the grid, just a little plain white line down there, and that's what I'm using as my cutting guide for halfway. So I do that, and there we are. They're ready to punch holes in now. Okay, so they are 100% ready for me to just punch and pop into my planner. So that's how that works. And the scrapbooking paper ones will be the same. When I slice them up, I guess I will quickly do a couple just so that you can see. I'm imagining that you don't really want to watch me slicing up paper all day, so once you get the idea of it, it's pretty self-explanatory. And I thought if this scrapbooking paper thing works out, it's a cool way to add every now and then a bit of a pop of colour to the planner, a bit of an imagination, and also to use up all those millions of pages of scrapbooking paper that I have that I've never done anything with. So there you go. That's sliced up. So when I do a punch a hole in that and then flip it over. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. I will have to work out that. See, there you go. There's something I haven't thought about. When I flip that page, I'm going to have one white and one pink. So I might have to think about that. I will think about that at another later date, and in the next video, when I check back in and show you how I've gone, we'll talk about how I solved that little problem. Okay, the next thing I wanted to show you is my diabetic inserts here. If you remember, if you've seen the video of my dory for my diabetes dory that I set up, I had made an insert and I was due to make another one, so I printed these all out while I was at it, and I thought I would just briefly talk about how I would put it together. Once again, I printed on an A4. All I will do is trim off these edges with my paper trimmer. Everyone calls it a paper trimmer, and I'm just going to take a moment to say that I have been making cards and doing paper craft in one form or another for, I don't know, 20 odd years now, at least, maybe more like 25. And until I started watching planner videos, I never, ever, ever heard it called a paper trimmer. We always called it a guillotine. So if you hear me talking and I say, I'm just going to trim this up with my guillotine, that is 100% what I've always called it. So random, sorry, but I wanted to just make that very clear very quickly. Alright, so these, I would trim these off with the guillotine, and then also I have this sheet of 12 by 12 scrapbook paper is going to be the insert cover. So once the pages are trimmed down, I would turn it over, and then I would lay an insert over the top, mark off the size that I need, trim that out just the way I trimmed down the other pages to make the cover. So once I have got that done, then it's just a matter of putting the insert together. So, alright, I might quickly do that now so you get an idea better of what I'm talking about. So I'll just do a couple of pages, because like I said, my guillotine blade is pretty blunt. So if I only cut one, it has a tendency to tear. Or at the very least, it leaves these sort of fluffy edges on the paper, which don't bother me because I'm a bit lazy. Oh, my alignment's off on that one page. I knew that from last time and I didn't fix it. Anyway, whatever. Just means I'm going to have a couple of pages where that little note box at the bottom is a bit wonky. It's funny how you never remember it when you're sitting in front of the computer, but when you actually look at it in the book, it's like, how did I miss that? Okay, so I've trimmed those down now to the right size. I'm going to take my scrapbooking paper. Now, I definitely want the bike to be on there. And if I'm lucky, it will actually even be, yeah, it'll be pretty right. I might lose the front of it. I wonder if I could, if I cut it that way and chopped off a little bit of the back wheel, it would mean that, sorry, I'm just gonna, you know, I always see so many videos of people who get distracted halfway through, and I think, how do they manage that? How do they not just, you know, keep on track? But sometimes best laid plans and all that, and just, I'm only very, very new to the making of the videos scene. I've never thought about that really before I printed them out. So yeah, I could cut off a bit of the back wheel, or if I leave it there, when I fold the insert over, I'll lose a bit of the front. Which, to be honest with you, I probably would rather chop off the back than chop off the front. I know that sounds really weird, but otherwise the picture is going to be incomplete. So, alright. I'm going to use a flat one now that I've just folded that. Alright, well I'll show you how I fussy cut then, in case you've never done that before. I might just quickly move all of this out of the way. And I need a pen, the one out of my planner will do. Alright, so first off I want height. That's the easiest place to start. Line the edges of your page up with the one that you're cutting. Make a little mark. And we're going to trim that off first of all. Sorry, I'm working in a very narrow space here, and it's not my normal crafting desk because I get good light on my craft desk, but I have absolutely nowhere to mount my phone in order to actually record the videos. So yeah, I'll have to take a picture or a video showing how this is actually set up. You guys will think it's quite funny. Anyway, so I've cut that to height now. That height is correct. And then when you're fussy cutting something, that just basically means putting it in the spot where you want it so that you get the bit that you want. I don't know if it's a term that people really use in the paper crafting industry or not, but I've grown up in the quilting and patchwork world, sewing and all that sort of stuff, because that's what my mum loves to do. So, and that is a terminology that she taught me. So if you've never heard it before, that's where it comes from. Okay, so now what I've done is I've marked the edges. Now what I actually did there, I don't know if you realised what I was doing, I actually held it up to the light. It would have looked like it was straight up and down to you, but from me, I'm sitting in front of a window, so I could actually see the picture slightly to line it up to get the right, to get the measurement where I wanted it. So we'll trim it down and I will show you what I mean by that. So, oops, sorry if the camera suddenly starts wiggling because the phone is actually at my head height, and when I bend down in concentration, I've headbutted it a couple of times. So, yeah, if the video suddenly goes wobbly, that is probably why. Alright, so I've trimmed it down according to where I measured, and you can, I don't know if you can sort of see those fuzzy edges. If you are ever using a paper trimmer guillotine and you see your edges starting to go fuzzy like that, that means your blade is starting to go blunt. I have been cutting with this blade probably for 3 or 4 years now, and it still cuts. So I am happy to either leave the fuzzy edges, or if it was something I was giving to someone, I would trim them off with scissors. They don't bother me that much, to be honest with you. I think that if I just throw the blade out the minute the edges started to go a little bit furry, then I would have probably bought 4 or 5 blades by now when I'm still using the one. I do have a spare one if I ever desperately need it, if something goes wrong. But, I don't know. I was taught as a child to be frugal, is the word my mum used. My husband uses another word that's a bit less publicly, I don't know, what's the word? Nice? Acceptable? Okay, so that is going to be my cover, and I'm really happy with that. I've chopped off a little bit of the wheel, but only a teeny tiny bit. And I've kept the front, which is good because it means these beautiful flowers and that are not, they would have been right there. If you look at the space that we would have lost on this side, you would have lost the front of that, and I think I would have been disappointed with that. So I'm happy with that. So that's what will happen. That's now the cover, and all the pages basically get folded in, and what I will do is, and I won't do this on camera because I can't really, you fold them in together and you get them all right, and then I get a stapler, and I've got it here so I can show you. It's just a normal stapler. Open it out like this, and onto carpet or a rug or something really plush and thick. I have a section of my house that is carpeted but also has a rug on top of the carpet because we've got some wheelie office chairs, and so it saves the carpet. So I've got a double thickness of rugness, and when it's open, you just lay it over the top like that and you staple it into the carpet directly. And what happens is, because it doesn't have this plate on the bottom, it won't curl over. It will just go in with its little fangs. And then I pick it out. Actually, I would probably do it on the spine so that the sharp bits are inside. But okay, so that way, line it up, punch it, and then you pull it off the carpet, turn it over, and use pliers or your thumb or whatever to fold the staples in manually. I would only put 2 staples in this, but whatever. And then you've got a book. You can also use like an awl or some sort of thing to punch holes in it and like stitch it. But I have found this stapler trick, I've done it before, I've been doing it for years, is way easier and it's so much faster and it achieves the same effect. You have the staple on the outside and the Sharpie bits on the inside, and because they're all folded down flat, it's just like any normal stapled booklet. So that is how that will look. And then obviously I will go in and decorate that. If you've seen my other video, you'll know that I will put some sort of something up here to tell me that it's my diabetic insert for the month from this date to this date. So that's it. And now that's everything I wanted to talk about today. I just wanted to go through, oh, I'm sorry, I just headbutted that camera, I told you. I just wanted to go through how I make inserts and how I chop them up and all that sort of stuff. Now the only thing left to do is to actually punch holes in them and put them into my planner and then start decorating. So I have not yet worked up the courage to actually decorate a spread on video. I'm not sure how to go about it. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't watch a video that's longer than 20 minutes. And other people are like, I love the long videos. And I really like to take my time when I decorate. And I'm also still learning how to work in front of the camera. I'm still a little bit nervous. So I'm not sure whether I would sit down in front of the camera to decorate and just completely stuff it up like I did with that other insert that you guys never ended up getting to see. So for now, I'm still trying to work on that. But I promise you what I will do, at the very least, is film a review, I guess, of how these scrapbooky papery inserts worked out and how I solved that problem of these now going to be wonky. Yeah, I'll let you know on that one. I'm still trying to work that out myself. I think I've got an idea, but I'm not going to say it on camera in case I'm wrong. So, alright. Oh, this is my phone case. Sorry, I just accidentally dropped that in there. Okay, that's it. That's it. I'm going to stop babbling. I've lost the plot now and I'm just crapping on. Thanks for watching, guys, and subscribe and all that sort of business. Leave me some feedback down below if you like what you saw. And yeah, here's to making some more videos in the future. Bye bye.